Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
The amount by which the cost of a business exceeds its revenue. The company operated at a loss last year. Military personnel lost by death or capture. The disadvantage that results from losing something. His loss of credibility led to his resignation. Euphemistic expressions for death. Gradual decline in amount or activity. Weight loss. Something that is lost. The car was a total loss. The act of losing someone or something. Everyone expected him to win, so his loss was a shock. The experience of losing a loved one. He sympathized on the loss of their grandfather. The amount by which the cost of a business exceeds its revenue. The company operated in the red last year. Red color or pigment. The chromatic color resembling the hue of blood. Characterized by violence or bloodshed. Convulsed with red rage. Of a color at the end of the color spectrum, next to orange, resembling the color of blood or cherries or tomatoes or rubies. A tributary of the Mississippi River that flows eastward from Texas along the southern boundary of Oklahoma and through Louisiana. Especially of the face, reddened or suffused with or as if with blood from emotion or exertion. Turned red from exertion. Emotionally charged terms used to refer to extreme radicals or revolutionaries. The amount by which the cost of a business exceeds its revenue. Military personnel lost by death or capture. A state of extreme poverty. Act of depriving someone of food or money or rights. Deprivation of civil rights. The disadvantage that results from losing something. Losing him is no great deprivation. A variation that deviates from the standard or norm. The act of departing. Euphemistic expressions for death. Move out of or depart from. An opening that permits escape or release. Pass from physical life and lose all bodily attributes and functions necessary to sustain life. Euphemistic expressions for death. Lose the lead. The act of going out. The act of expelling air from the lungs. A coming to an end of a contract period. Euphemistic expressions for death. The act of departing. Euphemistic expressions for death. Advancing toward a goal. Persuading him was easy going. In full operation. A going concern. Lasting a very short time. A passing fancy. Hasty and without attention to detail, not thorough. A passing glance. A bodily reaction of changing from one place or stage to another. The passing of flatus. Success in satisfying a test or requirement. His future depended on his passing that test. Going by something that is moving in order to get in front of it. She drove but well, but her reckless passing of every car on the road frightened me. Of advancing the ball by throwing it. A team with a good passing attack. To an extraordinary degree. She was a surpassingly beautiful woman. Euphemistic expressions for death. Thousands mourned his passing. The motion of one object relative to another. Stellar passings can perturb the orbits of comets. American football. A play that involves one player throwing the ball to a teammate. The coach sent in a passing play on 3rd and long. Allowing you to pass, e.g., an examination or inspection, satisfactorily. A passing grade. The end of something. The passing of winter. Part with a possession or right. Let something fall or spill from a container. Music. The act or manner of terminating a musical phrase or tone. A device that when pressed will release part of a mechanism. Activity that frees or expresses creative energy or emotion. The act of liberating someone or something. Grant freedom to. Free from confinement. Make assets available. Release the holdings in the dictator's bank account. Release, as from one's grip. Release, gas or energy, as a result of a chemical reaction or physical decomposition. A legal document evidencing the discharge of a debt or obligation. The act of allowing a fluid to escape. Prepare an issue for public distribution or sale. Eliminate a substance. The plant releases a gas. The termination of someone's employment, leaving them free to depart. Make information available for publication. Release the list with the names of the prisoners. An announcement distributed to members of the press in order to supplement or replace an oral presentation. Euphemistic expressions for death. Generate and separate from cells or bodily fluids. Release a hormone into the bloodstream. A formal written statement of relinquishment. A process that liberates or discharges something. There was a sudden release of oxygen. Merchandise issued for sale or public showing, especially a record or film. A new release from the London Symphony Orchestra. A quantity of money. A quantity of money. Determine the sum of. Be a summary of. The abstract summarizes the main ideas in the paper. The final aggregate. The sum of all our troubles did not equal the misery they suffered. A set containing all and only the members of two or more given sets. The whole amount. A quantity of money. He borrowed a large sum. A quantity obtained by the addition of a group of numbers. The choicest or most essential or most vital part of some idea or experience. How much there is or how many there are of something that you can quantify. Add up in number or quantity. The bills amounted to $2,000. A quantity of money. The amount he had in cash was insufficient. A quantity obtained by the addition of a group of numbers. Develop into. This idea will never amount to anything. Be tantamount or equivalent to. Her action amounted to a rebellion. The relative magnitude of something with reference to a criterion. An adequate amount of food for 4 people. Someone injured or killed in an accident. An accident that causes someone to die. A decrease of military personnel or equipment. Someone injured or killed or captured or missing in a military engagement. Put at a disadvantage. Hinder, harm. This rule clearly disadvantages me. The quality of having an inferior or less favorable position. A coming to an end of a contract period. The expiry of his driver's license. The event of dying or departure from life. The time at which life ends, continuing until dead. She stayed until his death. The time when something ends. It was the death of all his plans. The event of dying or departure from life. Her death came as a terrible shock. A final state. The absence of life or state of being dead. He seemed more content in death than he had ever been in life. The act of killing. He had 2 deaths on his conscience. The permanent end of all life functions in an organism or part of an organism. The animal died a painful death. The personification of death. Pass from physical life and lose all bodily attributes and functions necessary to sustain life. The event of dying or departure from life. Upon your decease, the capital will pass to your grandchildren. Grow worse. A condition inferior to an earlier condition, a gradual falling off from a better state. Go down in value. Show unwillingness towards. He declined to join the group on a hike. Refuse to accept. A downward slope or bend. A gradual decrease, as of stored charge or current. Grow smaller. Change toward something smaller or lower. Go down. The roof declines here. Inflect for number, gender, case, etc. In many languages, speakers decline nouns, pronouns, and adjectives. The act of decreasing or reducing something. Change toward something smaller or lower. The statement of a theme in notes of lesser duration, usually half the length of the original. A possession whose ownership changes or lapses. A possession whose ownership changes or lapses. A person with a record of failing. Someone who loses consistently. Inability to discharge all your debts as they come due. Fraudulent loans led to the failure of many banks. An act that fails. His failure to pass the test. An event that does not accomplish its intended purpose. The surprise party was a complete failure. An unexpected omission. He resented my failure to return his call. Lack of success. He felt that his entire life had been a failure. Loss of ability to function normally. Kidney failure. Go through, mental or physical states or experiences. Experience vertigo. Undergo or live through a difficult experience. Undergo. Undergo an emotional sensation or be in a particular state of mind. Have first-hand knowledge of states, situations, emotions, or sensations. An event is apprehended. A surprising experience. The accumulation of knowledge or skill that results from direct participation in events or activities. A man of experience. The content of direct observation or participation in an event. He had a religious experience. An unrealized loss on an investment calculated by subtracting the current market price from the investor's cost. To compress with violence, out of natural shape or condition. Squeeze a lemon. An aggressive attempt to compel acquiescence by the concentration or manipulation of power. To cause to do through pressure or necessity, by physical, moral or intellectual means. He squeezed her for information. A twisting squeeze. A state in which there is a short supply of cash to lend to businesses and consumers and interest rates are high. A tight or amorous embrace. Squeeze like a wedge into a tight space. I squeezed myself into the corner. Squeeze or press together. The act of gripping and pressing firmly. He gave her cheek a playful squeeze. Hold someone tightly in your arms, usually with fondness. Obtain by coercion or intimidation. They squeezed money from the owner of the business by threatening him. Press or force. Squeeze tightly between the fingers. She squeezed the bottle. A situation in which increased costs cannot be passed on to the customer. Increased expenses put a squeeze on profits. Press firmly. He squeezed my hand. Slang. A person's girlfriend or boyfriend. She was his main squeeze. The act of forcing yourself, or being forced, into or through a restricted space. Getting through that small opening was a tight squeeze. A casualty to military personnel resulting from combat. An injury to living tissue, especially an injury involving a cut or break in the skin. Hurt the feelings of. The act of inflicting a wound. Cause injuries or bodily harm to. A figurative injury, to your feelings or pride. He feared that mentioning it might reopen the wound. Put in a coil. A casualty to military personnel resulting from combat. Any physical damage to the body caused by violence or accident or fracture, etc. An accident that results in physical damage or hurt. An act that causes someone or something to receive physical damage. Wrongdoing that violates another's rights and is unjustly inflicted. A casualty to military personnel resulting from combat.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.